I'm the Irish guy. All right, okay, let's take a look and see what happened in Premier League Gameweek 11. And oh boy. Right, let's go. Wolves 2, Southampton 0. Disgrace. Absolute disgrace. I'm sorry, but not only were Southampton robbed of a precious point at Wolves, VAR just prevented one of my greatest ever predictions because play the clip.
I think Ryan Manning will bag his first ever Southampton goal from left back.
Lads, do you know how unlikely it was for Ryan Manning to pop up on the score sheet on Saturday afternoon? This is a 28-year-old left back from Galway who has never scored for Southampton ever, and has never got on the score sheet for Ireland either. This bearded international is not a goal threat. He's the anti-Matt Doherty, a good defender who cannot score. So me tipping him to find the back of the net, it was a bit like me suggesting that your grandma will tomorrow be arrested for eating a dog. Like, it was so unlikely, and yet Manning produced a left-footed arrow into the top corner of Jose Sa's net. The man equalised for Southampton. He ran off celebrating, and I felt like a genius. This must be how scientists feel when they get their experiments go right. So lads, look, VAR ruled out this Manning moment because of a phantom foul. You just robbed me of an incredible prediction. Whatever muesli brain meatloaf was sitting in that sweaty VAR studio who just wanted to be a spoil sport, who only woke up that morning with one intention of being an awkward pedantic football Grinch. Because of him, because of that human donut who was probably watching this game on his monitor in between mouthfuls of Burger King, because of him, that Manning goal has been lost forever. Nobody will remember that he, for the first time in his life, was fully celebrating a Southampton goal he had scored. Nah, instead, the history books will look at this being another stupid and crazy prediction. Look, it was an incredible strike from Matheus Cunha to clinch the win, sure, but this shouldn't have counted because of 2 fouls on Southampton in the build-up. I don't know how Martin maintained his cool after the match, because I'm sorry, the Saints had 71% possession. Wolves barely had the ball, and the referee just robbed them of a clear 1-1 draw. I don't get it. Was the ref bribed with a free packet of Maltesers in the tunnel before the match? Did he feel sympathy for O'Neill? Because like most of the brainwashed English population, he really likes Gary, despite him being a managerial onion. I don't get it. All I know is that Southampton were robbed. Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 2. Lads, this week on my Premier League prediction series, I went head to head with Flav. You know, that fella with a scary Batman dog in his wall. Look, I beat him by 43 points to 31 this weekend, but that shouldn't really be a surprise because he was the first guest who forgot to pick the goal scorers for about half the teams. He left points on the table. So unfortunately, because of that carelessness, he is now rock bottom of the chart and has just taken Lee Judge's wooden spoon. So go on then, Flav, enjoy that spoon. You can use it to stir your porridge or eat scrambled eggs. Whatever you like, old bean. But Despite being officially the worst predictor I've come up against this season, he's also produced, arguably, the greatest prediction in the entire thing. Take it away, Flav.
I think it's going to be a 2-0 win. And I like Smith Rowe. And I'm going to say Harry Wilson off the bench. 2-0 to Fulham.
I'm in shock. That was magnificent. That is absolute... That's Olympic level predicting. He called everything, even down to Harry Wilson coming off the bench to score. This is an insanely accurate prediction. So I'm confused. How did a man who predicted an entire Premier League match to a T, and he also predicted Man City to lose to Brighton, by the way, how has he managed to come last? Look, this is a quality Cottagers win, but Palace, oh boy, they're actually gonna have to sack Oliver Glasner before Christmas, aren't they? Considering he produced arguably the greatest ever Crystal Palace purple patch in the spring, the fact this guy was courting actual interest from Bayern Munich to such an extent that Crystal Palace apparently put a €100 million price tag on his head to scare them away. Yeah, apparently. Palace wanted £86 million to release their coach from his contract. That's 10 times what Manchester United just paid Sporting Lisbon for their rock star title-winning hero. Someone who deserves a statue outside the ground. Ollie G is someone who just won a few games in the spring. Just you watch, lads. Before Christmas Day, Steve Parish is probably going to have to fork out about £10 million to kiss this miserable Austrian cabbage goodbye. I don't know what happened to Glasner over the summer, but being forced to sell Elise really did rob a smile. I don't know if he had to witness his dog getting eaten by an elephant on a safari trip to Africa. I don't know if he found his wife having an affair with his dad, but something has massively impacted his managerial ability. I mean, when he first came in, this was world-class blistering Palace form, but now they're drearier than the donkey who chills with Winnie the poo. Look, I get they have injuries, forcing Glasner to play a central midfield partnership of Mark Gahey and debutant Justin Devaney. Although, to be fair, I don't have much sympathy because Eddie Howe, during his injury crisis a year ago, he was having to start Lewis Miley in midfield on Champions League nights against PSG and AC Milan. A kid who had only just turned 17 and probably still wore SpongeBob pajamas. The guy is so young, his favorite film was probably Frozen. Miley also appeared in 17 Premier League matches in a row, with 14 of them being starts. He finished the full 90 minutes in 9 of them. You see, that was an actual raw child. But Devaney is 21. He is actually older than the guy he's replacing. Adam Wharton, you know, the England international. Devaney isn't exactly some child who still wets the bed. He's not taking time out from writing letters to Santa Claus to play this match. No, he's 21 years old. So Glasner, I don't have much sympathy for you. Look, I would be more concerned about Devaney's midfield partner. You know, the apparent £80 million centre back. That decision alone to put him in midfield on Saturday would confuse me greatly because Trevoh Chalobah was left in the back three. If Glasner had put him in midfield instead, it would have been his 90th professional match in defensive midfield. By contrast, this is just Gay's second. Chalobah has played in midfield plenty of times for Chelsea, Ipswich, Huddersfield, Lorient, England under 21s. Why would you not choose him to fill the void? Did Glasner accidentally mix them up because they're both ex-Chelsea Academy children? Oh, how I bet Mark is wishing he'd pushed that move to Newcastle. Brighton 2, Man City 1. Okay, lads, play the clip.
It's going to be the game of the weekend, I think. And I think Brighton are going to do City to compound the misery that the City fans are feeling. Well-deserved misery, by the way. I'm going to say Brighton.
No, Flav, don't say it. Don't say it. Even your dog has entered the room to try and stop you speaking these crazy words into existence. Do not predict Man City to lose a 4th game in a row. If City lose to Brighton, no. Sorry, if one of the greatest managers to ever live gets outsmarted by a 31-year-old child, then I will get a stranger to throw 50 bananas at me in the middle of a public street. Sorry, but 3-1 Man City win.
Yeah, bring on the bananas, I guess. Lads, I will go out there on Wednesday morning and find some weirded out stranger to grant me this odd request. And yeah, I will upload it as a short, so look out for that. Am I really gonna do this? It's gonna look like a scene from Planet of the Apes. People are gonna be flinging so many bananas at me. I look like someone getting attacked by Donkey Kong. Well, lads, Man City are in crisis. That's the narrative, right? No.
Oh, they've lost 4 games in a row. Look how awful they are.
Well, they've actually just lost 2 Premier League matches in a row. Can we just relax? Because getting slapped by Sporting Lisbon is embarrassing on paper, but it doesn't matter because it's harder not to qualify from this Champions League table. 24 teams in that table get at least a playoff to progress to the next round. So having one bad night in Portugal, it really doesn't matter. And yeah, all that City's B team losing to Tottenham in the League Cup proved was that the annoying quadruple talk is now over. I mean, come on, yeah, that was still a good City team, sure. But come on, they started with a midfield of James McAtee and Nico O'Reilly. Jacob Wright played the last half an hour. Do you know who he is? Exactly. And could someone please tell me what on earth a Simpson Pussy is? Is it this? But no, it's apparently a Man City centre-back. Look, we have heard this Man City crisis talk before. You think 2 defeats in a row are bad? How about 3 defeats in 4 Premier League matches? Which is exactly what happened in December 2018. Pep's side lost to Chelsea, then they beat Everton sure, but then they lost back-to-back games against Crystal Palace and Leicester. They were now 3rd in the league at Christmas. A month later, they were losing up at Newcastle, and don't forget, this was a season where they were up against a world-class winning machine in Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. A team that season would be crowned best team in Europe. And City still recovered to win the league. That loss to Newcastle was the only game where they dropped points after Boxing Day. Do you know how insane that is? Ever since losing at the King Power, whilst everyone was still unwrapping their socks from Santa, City ended that season with 29 wins from the final 32 games in all competitions. That run included a 5-0 win, a 6-0 win, 2 7-0 wins, and a 9-0 win. All those sloppy back-to-back Christmas defeats did was make City mad. And this is a team who didn't yet have Rodri, by the way. Speaking of which, of course his absence is making a difference. He's a Ballon d'Or winner. You rob any team of the current Ballon d'Or champion and of course their results will decrease. But to think City will now totally collapse because of 2 Premier League defeats in a row, it's nonsense. Look, this is a brilliant Brighton turnaround win, and it's also quite fitting that João Pedro scored the equaliser because last summer, I was championing this man for a move to Man City. Honestly, he is the perfect replacement for Gabriel Jesus, a young and hungry Brazilian international striker you can unleash from the bench. Lads, when Pep won his first treble as Barcelona boss, the Brighton manager was 15. What a mega win for Hursuler, but City they'll be fine. Man United 3, Leicester City 0. So I guess Ruud van Nistelrooy now has the Michael Carrick goodwill factor. Don't forget, after Carrick enjoyed a pretty few successful games as Man United interim boss, when the pressure was completely off, he was suddenly being tipped for mega jobs. Well now, Ruud van Nistelrooy, after coming in to win 3 easy home matches, you just know he's going to get a very impressive managerial job after this. Because I can't really see this former PSV Eindhoven manager agreeing to just bake the cupcakes and fetch tea for Ruben Amorim. Nah, his stock is now higher than it was last summer when he was invited for a Burnley interview. No, after breathing life back into the Man United team, after almost single-handedly reinvigorating Bruno Fernandes, then yeah, the guy's probably going to get a big job like Roma. I mean, that's a club where apparently sniffing around Frank Lampard after sacking their second manager since stupidly bidding off Jose in the spring. Yeah, I'm gonna call it. I think RVN will now think it is beneath him to feed Amorim his custard creams. And so yeah, I bet he's announced as Roma boss next week. Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1. Arsenal are 9 points off top spot in November. Who saw this coming? Because it doesn't even feel like the Gunners have been that bad this season. They didn't even play badly on Sunday afternoon, but they still didn't win. Kai Havertz thinks he's put the Gunners 1-0 up in the first half, and then chooses to celebrate on his former patch by literally shushing the crowd. Oh, Kai, I think this might be the first time I have ever seen someone who literally scored a winning goal in the Champions League final get booed by those same fans who he made champions of Europe. It's quite astonishing just how quickly Havertz has burned his Chelsea legacy in a bin. No matter what he goes on to achieve in his career, that moment will always be his pinnacle. The greatest moment of his career, hands down. Don't do this, Kai, when you're a 54-year-old fat old man and you're back in London. Do you really want Chelsea sporting chefs spitting in your food? Do you want Stamford Bridge season ticket holders to be throwing croissant crumbs at your car? Yeah, the goal was ruled out. Then Gabriel Martinelli breaks the deadlock after an hour with a smart finish before Pedro Neto drills in an equalizer. Oh, how I wish David Araya was injured for this match, because then we would have had Neto scoring against Neto. That would feel like some Black Mirror episode. But lads, Havertz was saved from almost completely destroying any sort of favor he might still hold with some Chelsea fans, because in the final second, the ball is squared across the box. He is about to gratefully tap it in, only for Leandro Trossard to get in the way and take the shot off his toes and miss himself. I can only imagine how devastated and guilty the Belgian winger would have felt in the change rooms after. But can you imagine if Havertz had scored a last-second winner at this ground? Oh, he wouldn't be celebrating like some cartoon donkey. Oh no, he'd be ripping off his shirt and doing a belly flop by the corner flag. Chelsea fans would have probably thrown their mobile phones at his head. Things would have gotten so ugly. Kai, you were saved from yourself, because if you'd done that, and you would, I am sure, you'd basically be forever deleting that Champions League winning goal from your life. It's mental. What other fan base on earth hate the guy who scored for them in a Champions League final? Yeah, Real Madrid fans are annoyed by Gareth Bale, sure, but I'm sure most of them still respect him. But Havertz, I think he's the only one who's hated by those fans. Brentford 3, Bournemouth 2. Brentford are nuts. It's official. This is an absolutely bonkers team to watch who don't really make sense. The big fear surrounding the Bees for years was, what is going to happen when Ivan Toney finally quits? Well, we have our answer now. They're going to be absolutely fine. And they actually score more goals without this former mega star. They scored in all but one of their 11 league matches so far. They've now belted in 22 goals at home. They have got 2 different players in the top 5 Premier League goal scorers so far this season. It is nuts. It reminds me a little bit of when Newcastle United cashed in on their only source of goals in January 2011. When Andy Carroll left for Liverpool, nobody knew where the goals would come from anymore. Yeah, 18 months later, and the club's first full season without Carroll, they had both Demba Ba and Papi Cisse in the top 10 in the Golden Boot race. Yeah, you know where British record signing Carroll was on that list? 80th. Yes, 80th in the race to win the Golden Boot. To be fair, Drogba was 68th on the list, and yet still finished 8th in that year's Ballon d'Or. Yes, Drogba was outscored in the league by John Terry and Jamie Mackey, and yet he finished above a Robin van Persie in the Ballon d'Or, who practically won the Premier League title on his own. That was crazy. So honestly, the Bees, they don't need Tony at all. Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 3. Newcastle United are back, and Nottingham Forest are not what everyone thought they were. Honestly, can we stop these nonsense rumors now that Nuno Santo and his plucky young underdogs are now in a fight for Europe? No, what we're looking at Forest is what we saw in Wigan in 2005, when as a newly promoted club, they went on an insane run from the 27th of August to the 5th of November 2005. Wigan only dropped 2 points, winning 8 of 9 games, and suddenly we were looking at potentially the greatest ever underdog story in English football, right? They were 3rd in the league. People were talking them up as possibly qualifying for the Champions League in their first ever Premier League season. Yeah, then they lose 5 in a row and only won 4 games after Christmas. Still a great season, and 10th was amazing, but it wasn't the European season. And similarly with Forest, everyone calm down. 10th would still be an amazing season for them. Forest are good, sure, but they're no Newcastle, and so yeah. After conceding a sloppy header to Brazilian centre-back Murillo, who then celebrated for what seemed like an hour with such a nauseating Disney dance, the Magpies then turned it on in the second half. Goals from Isak, Joe Linton and Barnes. Newcastle are back. Tottenham 1, Ipswich Town 2. Oh, Spurs, what have you done? Ange Postecoglou, when he gets it right, Spurs look devastating going forward after back-to-back 4-1 wins at home. But lads, this was a nightmare loss. You are coming up against a football club who have not tasted a Premier League win since 2002, and you gift wrap it to them on a plate in your monster spaceship stadium. You let Kieran McKenna, a former Tottenham under-18 coach, return here to lead little Ipswich to a win. Look, it was a splendid finish from Ireland international Sammy Szmodics for the first goal, but it might just be the slowest overhead kick I've ever seen. This was not Alejandro Garnacho worthy, no. It was a man going down in stages, falling with style like Buzz Lightyear. The ball was floating into the net at a snail's pace. The keeper should have saved it. And then Liam Delap makes it too. This was a terrific Ipswich win, sure. But for Spurs, this is a disgrace. Lads, we have seen Daniel Levy sack managers for less. Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Liverpool, wow, they are brilliant. Arne Slot has just unearthed another amazing Liverpool team to be top of the Premier League, be 5 points clear in mid-November, and be top of the Champions League too. This is stunning form. And yeah, here they were, comfortably dispatching Aston Villa, who played right into their hands, by the way. I expected more from Unai Emery because, lads, when Villa had a corner, Liverpool looked their most dangerous, with Villa committing everyone forward, only having one defender at the back. The Reds then counter-attacked in blistering style. And lads, if Darwin Núñez was a composed finisher, if Liverpool had someone like a peak Fernando Torres up front, then this would have been 4 or 5-0. This is kind of poetic that this was so crazy to watch, because Aston Villa were the team which exposed Liverpool's high line in the weirdest ever Premier League afternoon. Remember when they stuck 7 past them? This was equally strange defending, but from Villa this time. But seriously, what Slot is achieving right now? Wow. West Ham 0, Everton 0. I'm not even gonna waste my breath. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Are you looking forward to the bananas? I sure am not. That's gonna be weird. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, subscribe. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.